city. I'm going to start by giving you an update of kind of where crime stands at this point in our city. This was as the very beginning of May, week 18. And as you know, we track crime in 9 key categories. Obviously, we fight all crime in Atlanta, Georgia. Currently stands, we're seeing an 11% reduction in overall crime in our city since this time last year. Some of the key areas of reduction are homicides, which I'm going to talk to you about in just a little bit. We also have seen a reduction in motor vehicle thefts, which we're going to talk about. Car break-ins, which has always been the pressing crime in our city. We've also seen a reduction in our burglaries. Where we have seen a slight uptick is around rape, as well as aggravated assault and robbery in the city, and then some shoplifting and larceny, other cases. We're going to talk about each of those, why we've seen drops, where we've seen drops, and where we're seeing increases, what we believe is contributing to that, and what help we need from the community to be able to target it. Going to go to the next one. What you saw that aggravated assaults were up. Please note that we also are very keen on the shootings, which lies in that. Aggravated assault can be if I use a cane, if I use a knife, if I use a frying pan to threaten or harm somebody with. That's going to be an aggravated assault. And so we are very mindful of that escalating disputes within the city. If anyone picks up any item and tries to use that to assault another person, we're going to carry that as an aggravated assault. Also, if a home gets hit by gunfire and there's a number of people inside the home, even if no one is hit, that can be tracked as a homicide as well and can inflate those numbers when we got groups in conflict and we move quickly with our partners in that conflict. But shootings continue in a 3-year trajectory down in Atlanta, Georgia, which I'm proud to report. Right now we're seeing a 27% reduction over shootings this time last year. That is the team effort. That is the group project that our mayor talks about. We only see reduction in this area if we have youth basketball programs at play with our school institutions working closely with us. We only see these reductions when we have a summer employment youth program. All those things that layer up to help us see a reduction in shootings, and it's also with our partners working with us very, very closely. Homicide reduction, and I appreciate you all taking interest in this. We are now seeing so right now, if we go back to this morning, we have unfortunately investigated 30 homicides in our city so far this year, 30 too many. But ladies and gentlemen, if you roll the clock back, just a year ago we'd investigated 46. If you roll the clock back to this morning in 2023, we investigated 44. If you go back to 2022, as of this morning, there had been 65 homicides in Atlanta, Georgia. And so we are seeing a reduction right now this morning. We're at our lowest at this date and time than we have been in the last 7 years, surpassing even the year of COVID. Year of COVID, right now we'd had 31 homicides this morning. And so this reduction is being seen in a key area, which is actually an area we asked for your help in last year. What we have up on the screen, let's go back real quick. Up on our screen is what are the motivations so far this year in homicides. When we were here this morning last year, the number one reason a person had lost their life in Atlanta, Georgia was a domestic violence dispute. We have never seen that to be the number one trend for someone losing their life in our city. And this was an area that was outside our scoped influence. We can't be in living rooms. We can't be in homes where the vast majorities were playing out. And so we actually asked for your help. The mayor launched the No More campaign, which we ask everyone to become involved in knowing what the danger signs were of domestic violence, when you have a friend or a family member in a toxic relationship, and what resources were available to help a person exit that relationship and find safe harbor in many programs that were available in the faith-based community, in our civic organizations, as well as government and non-governmental areas. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to report to you and citizens of the city is that we said here this morning, motivation for domestic violence, as you saw, is last. 2 so far this year, as opposed to a double-digit number when we were here this time last year. So we want to thank everyone that answered the mayor's No More campaign call, that used youth centers, our At Promise centers, faith-based communities to be able to spread the message. This is what a toxic relationship looks like. These are the warning signs you should be aware of, and what resources are available. And I'm going to thank everyone for their effort to be able to market. This was the midnight basketball that was at play, all that layered up to bring the support of the city together to see that reduction. We're going to need everyone's help to continue to reduce homicides in the city. You saw what is the number one right now. It's an escalating dispute. Fight over a parking space, fight over an unpaid bill, infidelity or alleged infidelity in a relationship. That is causing individuals to fight, and close by is a handgun or close by is a knife, and then a life is taken. And so for us as a city to continue to be about the mayor's group project of reducing violence, we do need everyone's help. And for you all being here today to take that message out, if you're a faith organization, if you're a civic group, have a youth program. If you're helping one young man, young woman in our city, you're helping reduce crime in the city. We want to thank everyone for their efforts in reducing crime, and we're going to talk about our car break-ins here in a shortly, which you all have been instrumental in that in our car thefts.
Q&A for this portion.
Okay, go ahead. Judge Spike says we're going to have a Q&A right here about homicides and our community crime reduction efforts.
Any questions?
Yes, Michael.
So I would just say, obviously the numbers speak for themselves. What would be your message to families out there? I know your detectives, your officers are out there working hard every day. However, you're not going to solve every crime overnight. So families out there who are still waiting for justice, who want to see an arrest in their loved one's murder, what would be your message to them, especially those who may say, oh, well, police don't care. We're not the top priority. What would be your message?
You know, I see the compassion and the hard work of the men and women at this table every day. Michael, we do care. And the same dedication that brought a homicide to be solved in one instance is the exact same level of dedication that is applied to every other homicide. Sometimes we have homicides where the community is quick to provide information. The community is a key portion of that, talking to our investigators, calling Crime Stoppers, giving information. In other areas, we don't see that information readily available to us. And so we do encourage everyone, if you're sitting there right now and you know information about a homicide, there is a family you can help and bring closure to. But the homicide being unsolved is not because of a lack of commitment, dedication, or resources. Those are applied to every single homicide the same. Many times it's an individual in the community having a piece of information, and we would ask them to come forward.
Another point to add to that is you probably just saw just last week we did a Crime Stoppers a bolo, essentially, for a crime that took place in 2021 on December 18th that involved the murder of 2 people and a child was on the sofa when the perpetrator entered the apartment. So you will see more of those happening with cold cases and cases where we don't have information, where we need help from the public. You will see more press releases and more press events like that where Lieutenant Smith and members of the homicide unit come out and we have a press event to make sure we get the message out. Because we don't want families to think that. We're actually in the process of working on a case that I know is well over 10 years old that we want to present to the media. So get ready for those.
Sorry, one quick follow-up to that, and maybe because people watch TV shows and they think, oh, like all homicides on one case only. Are you able to touch on what the caseload looks like for homicide detectives? Like how many active cases detectives are working each detective? I don't know how you divide them up into groups or.
Yeah, don't have that in front of me right now, Michael. We can certainly get that for you. Lieutenant Smith, he's going to have some information to add to this call. We will always adjust resources as necessary. If we have to provide support on a particular case, Chief Spann works very closely to make sure. But Lieutenant Smith, I believe you had some information you wanted to add to that question on the homicides.
Correct. So just to point out some stats, last year, 10 of our homicides were unsheltered individuals. We solved 9 out of those 10. So those are the hardest type to solve. In addition, our clearance rate from last year was 83%. So if you plan to commit a homicide in Atlanta, you have a less than 20% chance of getting away. So we do work very hard. Our clearance rate is well above national average. And we have 15 homicide investigators as well as a cold case unit, and they do a rotational basis.
Thank you,
Next
LT.
question?
This is for the chief or anyone else. Escalating disputes, it feels like, is there really a realistic chance of solving that or fixing that? Because that seems like adults, and you can't, try to predict how adults are going to react. So how do you even get around trying to lower that number?
Yeah, because the answer to that is not a police answer, sir. So the answer to that is a community answer. So it's faith communities working to ensure that they are having a broad approach within their communities that they're in. It is the school system developing conflict resolution programming. It's using our app promise centers to be with conflict resolution. It's everyone doing their part to be a positive influence, to know there's a better way to solve a dispute. It's being a strong influence as a neighbor, as a family member, as a community leader. So you have the ability to model good conflict resolution. You have the ability to see those yellow flags that we could have a red flag problem approaching around anger management or conflict resolution. So I don't expect anyone to step in the middle of a gunfight, but we all have what we can do to prevent that to ever reaching that level. And so it is a community answer It's not a police answer because we don't have those abilities to be there all the time. We can't be everyone's father, mother, uncle, aunt, sister, neighbor, faith leader, member of the same bowling league. But every title I just mentioned there, they do have a role in keeping our city
I'm
safe.
just gonna hope those numbers kind of solve themselves.
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen reductions in shootings over the last 3 years. We've seen reductions in homicides over the last 3 years. That has not been your police department alone. The incredible men and women of this organization and our law enforcement partners have had a role in that. But have we not have community members stepping up to our mayor's call of Atlanta being a group project, we would not see the reductions that we're seeing today. You're welcome.
In terms of domestic, in terms of domestic violence, obviously homicides way down. Is that true for domestic violence incidences as well, like response calls? Are y'all noticing an overall drop in responses to domestic violence incidences? And is there anything in the last year that the department has done, or more personnel involved in this, special units? I'm not sure.
We've been using the size and expertise of the department to target offenders. If we have a warrant for you for domestic violence, we have committed extra resources to pick that individual up. We are highlighting the resources to our victim witness program. Chief Span, do you know if you've seen an increase or decrease in DV cases?
I'm not sure
We'll have to pull that for you if we can. But where we see trends developing, we do commit more resources. We do support our victim witness program. They recently acquired a mobile community resource vehicle that has been deployed out because we want individuals to know what the resources are. And so it's just everything we can apply to it, we will when we start seeing a trend develop.
Now, with the current homicide numbers, are you seeing those homicides more committed by juveniles, adults, or is it a mix?
More adults than it is juveniles, but LT, you can probably speak into the details of it.
Yeah, 37% of our homicides this year are between the age range of 17 and 24. And that was 39% last year, same age range, 17 to 24.
So we will slow walk, because we got 3 reporters who are running late, who are downstairs, but we will move to the next topic, which is robbery.
I do want to talk about robberies, even though you saw the motivation for robberies drop in our homicide numbers. And we've had a decrease since 2022 to 2024 by double digits, almost 30%. This year, we are starting to see it eat back up, which concerns me as chief of police. And as we look for patterns, where do we deploy? There's a couple areas that we're seeing patterns in, and there's one area of concern that I want to highlight for your listeners and your viewers, as well as your readers. We are seeing targeting of our rideshare drivers, so Lyft and Uber. We're seeing a pattern there. And that's an area we're working around education. We're also working quickly to deploy resources to be able to counter that, both on the investigative sides as well as with resources that we're putting in the areas. I've seen a couple incidences where individuals were orchestrating a sell or a purchase of an item online, and that has turned to a robbery. So we encourage everyone, if you're going to look for a watch, a pair of tennis shoes, anything that you want to sell or purchase, do that in the parking lot of an Atlanta police precinct. That parking lot is open to everyone that would like to do so. We do know individuals, if their intent is not to acquire or sell something of value, but their intent to rob, we have not seen anyone yet commit a robbery in a parking lot of our police precinct. We don't anticipate that we will. So it's a good way to determine, is the person that is trying to purchase or buy something from you, do they have any ill intent? They're not going to carry that out at a police precinct. And so we want to encourage everyone to do that. We want to return to that downward trend, and we're still down over, obviously, our 2023 and 2022 numbers. But here's something that I've noticed as my team identifies who has committed the robbery and we've secured an arrest warrant for them, or we've actually taken them into custody. Very concerned to see the high number of recidivists, repeat offenders that we're encountering in this space. And Shauna, let's go to the next slide if we can. These are 2 individuals that we've arrested for robberies that have been occurring. And I want you to note their criminal history. Mr. Blackwell, at the time he was arrested for his most recent robbery in our city, had already been arrested 21 times by law enforcement. Not only had he been arrested 21 times, he had been convicted of a felony 5 times. It is very difficult to be convicted of a felony, much less to be convicted of a felony 5 times. Yet you will see a judge decided that despite with that extensive criminal history and with this individual having yet again being arrested for committing a robbery inside of Atlanta, Georgia, that they should be granted bail. And that individual was actually released back into the communities on April the 22nd. This is highly concerning. Individuals that have already shown that their proclivity is toward violence and harming individuals, not 21 times before, this should have been a red flag for a judge. In the second case, Mr. Bowens, being arrested by this department for robbery, had already been arrested 37 times, and you will note he has been convicted of a felony 5 times. Fortunately, in this case, bond was not granted. And I do want to thank the judges that are reading the criminal histories, that are looking closely at individuals that are committing very serious crimes on our streets, what they've done. I'm going to show you a couple more. Here's individuals that the Atlanta Police Department would like to meet yet again because we have arrest warrants for them. And not only do we have arrest warrants for them, if any citizen would like to call Crime Stoppers, there's a cash reward available. You can remain anonymous to tell us where these individuals are so we can bring them in before they harm again. But look at their criminal histories. Mr. Brooks, 28 previous arrests, 4 felony convictions, yet again charged by the Atlanta Police Department for robbery. Mr. Harris, 26 previous arrests, 3 felony convictions, wanted for robbery. They will, at some point before a judge, somewhere, and a judge will have to determine whether they present a risk to the community. I would say they're carrying out an armed robbery in our city. Their previous history says that they are likely to be a risk to our community. And I would ask judges, please take note when you're setting bond, when you're determining who should be released, if they are in fact a risk to our communities. I want to thank this team at the table for their work identifying who is committing robberies in our city so we can return our current robbery trend to a negative space. Motor vehicle theft, and you all have been very instrumental in this. When I say you all, members of the media as well as the community. We saw a significant increase in our vehicle thefts in 2023. Why? Because individuals learned, and this was perpetrated or pushed along rather by a YouTube video, that you could easily steal a Kia or a Hyundai. And this started in the upper Midwest, and before long we knew it was all over the country. And the team went to work. The team went to work to be able to determine what could be done to educate the citizens and then who needed to be arrested to be able to stop this trend. Last year, the team at this table, in partnership with the community, with leadership with our mayor and community engagement, was able to drop vehicle thefts in our city by double digits. And that is continuing into this year. We ask citizens, take note, take one of the free clubs we are providing you. You all notified that. Citizens showed up in large numbers to take the clubs. The mayor was able to orchestrate pop-up shops in our city where you could have your Kia or Hyundai fixed with the fix that needed so individuals couldn't exploit that vulnerability. Citizens responded to that. And so that allowed us to create the double-digit reduction last year, and that's continuing into this year of vehicles being taken in the city. During the time we were reducing vehicle thefts in the city last year, we saw them eking up at the airport. In fact, we saw them rising at the airport in a significant manner. And a number of measures were put in place at the airport led by Deputy Chief Collier that was able to address things of where people parked, extra patrols, how long you could stay in a parking deck. And as we were able to address those, it became very apparent by an investigation that we actually had a ring at work in the city and at the airport, an organized ring that was focusing on stealing vehicles from the airport in the city. Let's go to the next slide. And I'm going to let you, Lieutenant Jones, speak to this on areas I'm going to miss. But this became a partnership investigation between the Atlanta Police Department and our federal partners. It was codenamed Operation Golden Gate Bridge because we knew individuals were not going to the world's busiest airport to go to a beautiful destination around the globe, but they were actually using the airport to try to further a criminal investigation. Lieutenant Jones, I'm going to allow you to go through briefly what we saw, what efforts were taken, and who we arrested as part of this extensive investigation that played out.
Okay, so like Chief stated, over the time frame of October 2023 to October 24, my team noticed over 200 vehicles that were stolen from not only the city of Atlanta, but also Hartsfield Airport. We definitely partner with, like you said, our federal partners. It was local and state. Again, this was a community effort. A lot of Crime Stopper tips that was sent to us as well. A lot of investigative hours. We were able to recover more than over $4 million in cash assets, as well as you've seen an $18 million value in stolen vehicles. As Chief stated, this was an organized ring. These guys were very sophisticated. It was something similar that you'll see, what we stated on the movie, Gone in 60 Seconds, where you see them making custom orders for different vehicles, and then they were take them to different shipping ports throughout the United States to go to different international destinations outside of the United States. Due to the good work of our guys as well as the federal and state partners, we were able to apprehend some key individuals that you see on the next slide. The male here, this is Antonio Gates that you see here, and then also that's not pictured is Mr. Sherman Terry, as well as Carlos Twine, and at the bottom you see Rontavious Anderson. These individuals, we were able to charge them with 116 thefts that were directly related to this individual group, but we know it was a lot more than that. This did not only impact the city of Atlanta, but this impacted multiple jurisdictions throughout the different counties in Metro Atlanta. So this is a joint effort from not only us, but a lot of partners, a lot of man hours that's put in place to actually bring these individuals to justice.
And I'll take a very good overview. Just name some of the agencies that you work closely with that were helping us in this space.
So in this particular space, we also use our federal partners, which was the FBI. We had HSI as well. It was Gwinnett County. We had Cobb County with us, DeKalb County, Coweta County, Brookhaven. It was a lot of different agencies as well as Clayton County that helped bring these people to justice.
Very good work. This was a lot of work that went into deconstructing what was a very well-organized group that was targeting not only the city, the airport, but the region. I think we saw reductions in other areas too because of this arrest.
Yes.
And some of these vehicles were leaving the country and being moved overseas that we were able to determine.
Now we'll have Q&A for this portion.
Do you all know how many people took the help with the Kia, Hyundai fixes, et cetera?
We can get that for you. We know you do have the pop-up numbers that came to the pop-up shop, so we can get that for you. We do know how many clubs we distributed, so we'll provide that.
I got two questions. Chief, you've probably talked about this 100 times about repeat offenders. I mean, you just like want to hit your head against the wall, like how many times, I don't understand because there's been this whole effort by, you know, all the branches of the judicial systems, but it seems like some judges still aren't getting it. I mean, I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
So the Repeat Offender Commission, which meets regularly, has tracked a reduction over the last 2 years in recidivist repeat offenders being released when they shouldn't be. So we know there is an improvement, but there's still too many. And we just gave an example right there of someone, I don't know if they were slipping through the cracks, I don't know where the disconnect is, but it is concerning that individuals that have a track record and extensive criminal history are being allowed to just return to offend again. And so it's very frustrating. Are we going to allow it to keep us from doing our job? No. We're going to continue to do what we have to do. But I do want everyone to take note that we pass a baton on to someone else. We are not the race in its entirety, and we need more baton passing and less boomerangs coming back to the police department for us to, again, try to remove someone from the street.
The other one was about the car theft ring. How is it frustrating? I know you guys made some arrests and had seized a lot of the stolen cars, but my understanding in a lot of these cases, the ringleaders are getting juveniles to go out there and do it because of how the system's set up. They get released. Speak to that, how challenging that is, and kind of where you guys stand with all that.
Like I say, Michael, maybe 77% of our cases are individuals from ranging ages 13 to 26. Now, what we did differently, because like you stated that they were using juveniles in the past, we had to use a tiered approach on this one. We had to use, like you stated, the education and then also the community partnership with impacting those juveniles. Like the chief stated, the different programs that the mayor put in place helps with that youth. But not only that, we actually reached out and we started doing our own action as well as mitigation stance as well. So this is when you've seen those officers and different investigators working as well, using and leveraging the laws that we have in place, using the RICO to help us in this particular case that allows that individual that's using juveniles to impact them as well, so that that trend can stop. And then now we're in that maintenance and resiliency phase where we're trying to continue to educate the public, but we want to make sure that nothing gets back to this point where we're seeing those such high numbers in 2023.
Any other questions on this topic? All right, so our next topic is gangs, guns, and drugs.
This continues to be the focus of the police department. There is a lane that only law enforcement can occupy, and that is removing gang members from the streets, through the legal process, recovering guns, and then shutting down drug dealing operations. This partners with the broad community approach that is in place with the Promise Centers, with our power programming, all of the activations that the mayor has taken to bring everyone in. Want to touch on each of these. As we know, back in 2022, when you saw such a high homicide rate in the city, that was being driven by gang violence and a gang culture in the city of Atlanta. At that time, we orchestrated a number of initiatives within the Atlanta Police Department, including Heat Wave, which is our effort to focus on areas and persons of the city that are engaged in gang activity. We started seeing a reduction after that, and there was a lot of our partners joining us. We also, during that time, trained every one of our investigators on the state statute around what constitutes using gangs to further a criminal enterprise, and can we bring charges with that. And every investigator is expected to bring that charge when it's appropriate. So far this year, we've arrested 79 gang members, and we brought that charge 267 times. And we're going to continue to do so. At the same time, we're cutting off the entrance of individuals into gangs by using our Promise Centers, our Midnight Basketball, and its PAL. So far this year, 1,042 guns have been removed from the street. These are guns that will never be fired in a city park, guns that will never be fired on a city street, or will break apart a family network because of gun violence. So we're going to continue to remove them legally where we can. But if you remember the slide that said, what was the motivation for a homicide in Atlanta, Georgia so far this year? One that has generally been low, it's now number 2. And that is a motivation for a drug robbery or a drug deal gone bad. And if a individual has a drug operation in the city of Atlanta, we're going to shut it down. You just saw the number of drug operations that your police department has shut down this year. And I'm going to give you an example of just one of them. This was a tip we received of a suspected drug dealing operation occurring at 1639 Kenmore Street, Southwest. The team went to work, as we do with any other tip given to us. Many of those come in through Crime Stoppers, through various community connections, and we were able to determine that, yes, in fact, there was a drug dealing operation going on there. We secured a search warrant, and we went in. When we went in that location, you will see what we recovered. A wide range of illegal drugs being sold, over $3,000 in cash, but more importantly, 15 guns. Why is a drug dealing operation gone bad, a drug deal gone bad, our second number motivator for homicides in the city right now? Because of guns. Eventually someone is going to come for those drugs, likely to be a competitor. Eventually a competitor, someone that knows about it, is going to come for the $3,200 in cash. And those weapons will be used to defend the drug deal. Those weapons may be used to try to take a drug dealing territory. This drug dealing operation was going on in this nondescript residence right here. But we see drug dealing operations being carried out in businesses, in apartment complexes, in high-rises, 30 stories off the ground. We're going to remove every one of them as we know about them, because they are, in fact, a ticking time bomb for violence in our city. And if we're going to continue to reduce shootings and continue to reduce homicides in Atlanta, Georgia, one of those avenues is going to be to continue to shut down drug dealing operations such as this. And every time we go through a door, on the other side of that door are individuals heavily armed, often carrying more firepower than the police department is going through the door. So I want to thank Chief Span's team for the work going on, identifying drug dealing operations, doing the dangerous work to shut it down, to remove those guns from circulation without our street, and deconstruct the number 2 motivator for a homicide in our city, despite us being at a 7-year low this morning, that we're going to continue to deconstruct that. And if you are a youth organization, or you are a faith-based organization, community organization, anything you do to educate around drug use and drug abuse, this helps reduce the homicide and shooting rate in our city.
So now we'll pause for Q&A, questions regarding narcotics.
And we have shut down 28 drug dealing operations so far in the city this year.
All right. So the next topic we're going to go to before we're almost at the end, we're going to talk about street racing, and then after that, we'll talk about 911. So we're going to go to our next slide from street racing. It's just going to be one slide on this, and this is coming from Lieutenant Jones.
Lieutenant Jones again. Street racing, like Chief always say, is nothing that says some individuals being more nuisance to our citizens than street racing. We're happy to say that we have had a 72% decrease in all street racing calls in 2025. One of the key arrest that we made was Mr. Christopher Fine. He was an individual that was over the Pink Flamingo crew. He was the person that was responsible for shutting down the connector at 75-85. Throughout our enforcement this year, you see that we have made 2 organizer arrests. 4 vehicles was impounded. We have recovered 4 firearms, as well as doing a lot of traffic stops, as well as traffic citations. Not only we're arresting, but we have partnered to ensure that up-and-coming organizers does not try to have any takeover events in our city. We're going to their homes. We're using, again, our partnerships with the Georgia State Patrol. We are meeting them at their homes to ensure that they do not come to the city of Atlanta or in this region to try to do any street racing. And we've been successful at it thus far.
Okay, very good.
You want to speak on street racing, or can we move to 911? Any questions on street racing before we move to 911?
Anyone can answer. Senator Jones, probably. 72% decrease in street racing calls. So if folks don't call about it, then how do you guys probably find out about that?
So as
You
I,
have to do it where you're gonna be at, I'm assuming.
So as always with street racing, the reduction in calls is actually showing that they're less frequent, to be honest with you. It's not that citizens are not calling. The citizens of Atlanta calls every time they see street racing. That's something that we have traditionally seen. But our team is doing a lot of different investigative measures. Some things I can't disclose, but we are always prepared and we are monitoring these particular groups. We have a lot of technology that we leverage to ensure that if key individuals come into the city, we will know. And we're prepared for it, and we'll be able to respond.
All right, any more questions on street racing? So now we're going to go to 911.
Well, I definitely want to highlight the great works of the employees of the Atlanta 911 department, or division, where we saw a reduction in answer times. We reduced our answer times by half. At the end of 2023, we're at 24.33 second average answer time. We ended the year at 12.34, and currently for the month of April, we're at 9.7 seconds. I would like to highlight some of the technology reference to domestic violence. We do have the ability to accept text messages, so anyone that is in a domestic violence situation, the perpetrator's nearby, they don't feel comfortable making a phone call, they can always send us a text message. We also receive photos, we can also ingest video, so if there's any activity going on that you want us to be aware of, and it's not safe to make a phone call, then you can feel comfortable sending that to us via text, photo, or video. Also, we'll highlight the web portal, which is also a method of communication where you do not have to make a 911 call. You literally can use your cell phone, you can use anything with an internet connection, and you can alert us of anything that's going on. That is one of the ways that we do receive information about street racers. Sometimes we received it through the web portal. That does not require a phone call at all. There's no line, there's no wait. You can access it through atlantapd.org.
All right, and we're gonna end with something that a lot of people, you have a question about 911?
Yeah, two things. I saw 9.7 seconds, I think is the average.
Yes, for the month of April.
One is, what would you like that to be? And-
0.
0. That's easy. Two, you guys are moving to the Public Safety Training Center. How does that change y'all's operations?
That hasn't been determined yet. You know that we are looking for a new location, but it has not been
Oh, okay.
determined yet.
So you're not going to be at the training center?
We don't know.
It's a possibility. We're going to pick the best location for the new E911 center. And so it's part of our investment into all of our facilities and structures. As you know, we're beginning to build a new Zone 4 precinct, rehabbing our Zone 1 precinct. Public Safety Training Center is a viable location for the E911 center, and it may be selected there, but we're still in the process of finalizing that. But anytime we advanced where we house our resources, be it technology-wise with incredible women and men that work there, it's always a plus, and we want to make sure we're always investing in facilities that can withstand winter events, natural disasters, things of that nature. And I would like to note, during January, we had not one but two weather events in the city. And as everyone is being asked to stay home, stay off the street, we have to do just the opposite. We have to come to work. In fact, we have to get everyone to work. And so when we saw those winter events approaching, we watched your weather broadcasts very closely to make wise staffing decisions. We actually brought our entire 911 team in, placed them in hotels next to the 911 center so they would be ready for those calls. And I think during that time, your average answer time was 1.9 second, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so we're always going to do what we're going to do to keep the 911 system viable. To drop from 24 seconds to 9.7 seconds is a credit to the leadership of Executive Director Arnold and her team. Growing the size of the 911 team, putting new technology in place, bringing along better processes. This is what people expect of public safety to do. And I do want to thank you, Director Arnold, for your leadership over there, getting our center. And we're still hiring, too, so if you have a cousin, friend, yourself want to leave journalism and join public safety, we're hiring both on the sworn side and our E911 center side. So Come join the other side of the news.
Any other questions on 911? All right, this is our last and final slide. Chief, you want to speak to Connect Atlanta?
You know, I like to call Connect Atlanta the neighborhood watch of the 21st century. No longer do you have to be on the front porch calling it in or seeing it as you walk your dog, call it in. Still want you to do that. But if you register and integrate your cameras, you're truly investing those great technology pieces into the current public safety infrastructure. I want to give a distinction between the two. A registered camera is you let us know you have a Ring camera or other type of device on your home. And we can't watch it, can't monitor it, we know it's there. So we've had something happen in the neighborhood. Could be a lost child, package theft, could be an aggravated assault. We're going to send you an email. Say, hey, look at this time. See what you saw on the 3rd of May at 2 o'clock and report that back to us if it's of value. We might even tell you what we're looking for and see if you can locate it on your phone. So very, very helpful. And then a integrated camera that is generally from the business community. You do connect your cameras to our real-time crime center, our video integration center, and we're able to monitor those. Those are public-facing cameras on city streets owned by the private sector. They've been very key in the reductions that we've talked to you about today and the cases that we've solved. So if you want to continue to invest in the safety of the best city in the world, Atlanta, Georgia, do register or integrate your cameras as well. And Director Spikes, I think that's everything, so thank you.
That concludes our portion of our presentation. Of course, with conversation with the chief, we try to keep it to these particular topics. I know we had a few people who made it in a little late. We'll go back to the first couple of slides just so you can take a look at them. Everyone should have, if you check your email, you should have received the slide presentation, as well as everyone's name and spelling. For some of you, it's if your assignment desk email is what was registered, that's where it was sent to. So just be mindful of that. And I know Alexis, WSB Radio, you all came in a little late. You all have a question that you missed regarding homicides. We still got a little time, so you can ask those questions. And did any of you have any questions? Alexis?
I did have one question regarding homicides, and I apologize, Chief, if this was covered. I know typically the summer sometimes gets a little crazy in Atlanta, but we're on a downswing right now. How important will this summer's plan, Operation Heatwave, be as opposed to recent summers, so that you all can continue to see the decline in those homicide numbers?
It's going to be important. Be watching for an invite from Executive Director Spikes. We'll be having you back for our summer safety plan rollout. It's important because we do have those trends that occur generally in the summer. Now, I will say this, and I hope I'm not jinxing ourselves, we didn't see it last year. So last year was one of the first years I can recall that our summer actually was down over the previous time last summer. So we didn't see a traditional uptick. And so we're going to continue to deploy resources in the areas that we traditionally see that summertime tick up. We're going to continue to invest in the youth initiatives to keep that in check. And we hope to actually have a second year in a row where summer, it actually goes down, is what we want to see. And it is a group effort that the mayor refers to. And we're very mindful that with school out and a lot of fun things going on, more hours of daylight, you can see more crime. But I think if Atlanta all does its part, we can break the trend again, and we can continue to invest in this downward trend in our homicide rate.
Thank you. I know last year at that Operation Heatwave, part of it was the green, community safety officers, the green cars. That was part of what you were talking about. Has that played into the larger crime trends here? Are you able to speak to that at all?
You know, I can't quantify what it is, but it has to. When you have officers no longer going to car accidents, but actually on patrol, that helps. When you have officers not handling car accidents, but they're suddenly arriving at a scene much more quickly, that helps. And so everything that's been done, from midnight basketball to heat wave to kickstart to the CARES unit, all layer up to bring down a reduction. You can't point to just one as being a success, but if you remove any one of them, you're not going to see the success that we're able to report out on. So our care unit officers that are out right now answering many calls, keeping officers on patrol in the proactive mode is certainly helping. And we look forward to actually doubling the size of that unit in this budget year and seeing them more present throughout the city.
Chief, so homicides down 35%, robberies are up, car thefts are down. The mayor in his late proposal is proposing a 19% increase in your budget for next year. Do you feel like that is sufficient, and why?
It certainly is. You know, the mayor made public safety the cornerstone of his administration. When he came to office in 2022, we had our highest homicide rate, I believe, in 20-some years he was inheriting. and we were seeing an increase of violence all across the city. And he made an investment in public safety as priority, not only in the police budget, but in youth budgets. 2 years in a row of the Year of the Youth, rolling out and expanding his summer youth employment program. But when the mayor looked at why individuals were leaving the Atlanta Police Department, there were some patterns that he could address. It was no take-home car program that was being offered by the majority of our competitors. He invested in that. It was the lack of a proper training facility, subpar training, that was causing individuals to go to jurisdictions that had invested in that. The mayor recognized that we were underpaid based on what neighboring jurisdictions were offering in cities at our size, and when he conducted the pay and class study and then invested in the pay and class study, that's where he brought in the needed investments to make sure the department slowed its attrition and started to grow. And so it is exactly what we need to continue to grow the organization, and it's exactly what we need to continue to equip the men and women willing to do the dangerous, willing to do the difficult, and stand in harm's way for us, and to be effective crime fighters and good community builders. And so I do thank the mayor for investing in those. Today I'm going to push paper. There's going to be a lot of people out there standing in harm's way for the city, being compassionate to our citizens, and fighting crime, and doing it in partnership with the community. And that's who we need to invest in. And I appreciate the mayor investing in our officers and our civilian team members.
All right, no more questions?
I've got another question. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm curious how, and I think y'all have an event maybe even tomorrow. So
Tomorrow.
there'll be plenty of time, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it. We'll see. How do you address mental health calls? And I think we're all recognizing across the country just an emphasis on this. Have you had to also emphasize this with your units? And I know there's training that's involved. I know there's been talk about the potential of mental health co-responders being implemented into the force at some point. Can you give us a sense of where things stand right now, mental health wise?
Certainly. If you take all the mental health calls we get called to throughout a year and you divide them across the calendar, it averages out to 19 a day. Mental health calls that we respond to. Individuals off their medications, individuals acting in a manner that 911 was coded it as a mental health emergency, individuals threatening suicide, 19 a day if you spread across the year. So this was a challenge that American law enforcement has. And a number of years ago, we made sure that the training at our training center for responding to, recognizing, navigating a mental health emergency was the same as discharging your firearm. And so our officers at the training academy go through as many hours learning how to recognize a mental health emergency, navigate a mental health emergency, and to resolve it without an arrest is our priority. That's crisis intervention team training. I'm wearing that pin right now. So our officers at the recruit level go through mental health training, making sure that we're able to determine what that is. Our biggest challenge is the fact that we don't have a lot of community resources to partner our officers to with their level of knowledge about what can be done besides an arrest and an incarceration. The phenomenal men and women at Grady Hospital is our primary partner around getting care to individuals that are in a mental health emergency, but we also do turn to families, faith-based communities to help us in that space. And so as American law enforcement always evolves to be its best in service of our community, mental health emergency shouldn't be the thing we're responding to, but we are. And we will, and we'll continue to train that way. And so we look forward to the day that mental health resources are readily available. So A, we're not going to them, and B, when we do go to them, we have resources beyond just basically one single point of community resource. Few others, but they're limited in their capacity. And we're going to continue to evaluate our ability to respond effectively. And we also want to continue to invest in the mental health of our first responders. And it is it is Mental Health Month, and tomorrow we have a fair that's in place for these incredible men and women that every day go to critical situations. They see trauma that's playing out in homes where they hear it over the phone. And so tomorrow we're going to be investing in the mental health of our team members. We now have our second mental health resource center, our wellness center, that's come online for our firefighters and our police officers and our civilian team members. There's one here in Public Safety Headquarters, and last month we opened the second one at the Public Safety Training Center. And so we're going to continue to invest in the wellness of our team members as well in the month of May.